Why don't we just start with Star Wars?
You want to start? You want to go off the charts?
Fuck it. We'll start with Star Wars.
All right. So we saw The Force Awakens. Obviously, it came out the 18th. That's like a week and a half, almost 11 days since recording, since it came out. So we both saw the movie. I saw it 2 days in on that Saturday.
I saw it
Saturday morning.
Christmas Day.
You saw it Christmas Day. So what did you think of the movie, Ian?
Are we doing spoilers or no spoilers here?
We're doing spoilers.
We're doing spoilers. All right. So I went into initially so some fucking dickwad fucking spoiled the one of the key pivotal moments for me, and I got over it. But I was going into it. I kept thinking about the death of Han.
But wasn't that a foregone conclusion?
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. Like, it was. To me, a lot of other people looked at me like I was crazy when I said I thought it was kind of just basically guaranteed to happen. But anyways, I would have liked to have just, experienced that for myself.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of hints at it. One of the biggest hints to me was probably, I hate to say it, Han Solo. Harrison Ford probably said, I ain't doing this unless you kill off Han Solo, because he wanted to be killed off in Return of the Jedi. He almost didn't do Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
He wasn't really interested in that movie.
No, and that's the thing. I mean, he hasn't been really interested in that character. And the thing is I think he kind of was by the end of Force Awakens, because he acted his dick off in that movie.
Yeah, Harrison Ford, that was the we're skipping around, but that was the liveliest I've seen Harrison Ford in a movie in I don't know how long. Since probably him doing the Clancy movies in the early 90s,
yeah. So for someone who doesn't like the character, he certainly conveyed liking the character.
Well, he's my favorite character.
He looked like he was having fun.
Yeah.
Anyways, going in, didn't know what to expect. Throughout the movie, I enjoyed it. I thought Rey was fucking fantastic. I thought Finn was fantastic. Poe Dameron, for the amount of time he was on screen, shows promise. I did get a little tired of the constant referencing. I mean, it wasn't really referencing. I mean, it was in a lot of regards. It's not a remake or a reboot, but they went back to the well so many times.
On the structure or on the references, little references?
The references. The references were fine. It was the structure. It was a combination of both. But here's what I'm saying, because
I was going to say, okay, both bother you then. Okay.
But the further I got away from seeing the movie, the less it bothered me. I liked the movie when I left.
Did the references take you out of the movie?
Yes, eventually they took me out of the movie.
Stuff like the power droid on Jakku, no, but then maybe seeing the helmet in the Millennium Falcon along with the little force ball.
No, it was things like another trench run.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, that really kind of pulled me out of it. I'm like, really? But, I came away from the movie still liking it. And then as time went on, even that night, I was like, what? I bet you if I went and saw this a second time, and I think I'm going to, on one of the cheapy nights, I'm like, I bet you I'd like it a lot more, because I wouldn't be constantly waiting for that next reference to drop. Now that I know everything that's going to come, I can just kind of sit back and enjoy it.
Sure.
So for me, it was great, and I think one of my favorite parts of that movie, and this is kind of divisive, but I think you agree with me on this, is that I thought Kylo Ren was fucking fantastic. I thought he was a fantastic villain.
You said that's divisive? I don't think that's divisive. I think most people agree that he was a really interesting villain.
Well, I've talked to some friends who did not like him, and we had mentioned this briefly before the podcast, but people were complaining about how he kind of got his ass kicked at the end.
Well, is that to me is so different from the conversation of, is he an interesting villain? To me, they're two different conversations.
Okay, sure. He's an interesting villain, but I mean, like I said, I love him. But I had a lot of friends who were like, well, what are they going to do now that, he's had his ass kicked by the main character? And I said, well, I looked at him, I couldn't believe it when my buddy said that to me, because I looked at him and I said, they're both young. They're both starting on divergent paths.
It wasn't a clean fight.
It wasn't a clean fight.
In any sense of the word.
Not in any direction.
In terms of the circumstances.
And I mean, it's the start.
Plus, people forget that was
not the end.
I mean, they had a little back and forth, but there's no real history between those two characters yet, between Rey and Kylo Ren. They have to build that up over the course of films. Otherwise, it's a shitty throwaway character like fucking Darth Maul.
Right, and that's
like, who gives a shit? He looks cool, great. He's a sucky ass henchman.
Yeah. So, I that didn't bother me at all, because they talk about his they're going to complete his training at the end. This is going to be a story where it's not a bunch of ragtag Rebels trying to fight a perfect from the start villain in Vader. It's going to be, the light and the dark, basically, training to their apex probably until the third movie, and then having a great payoff.
Yeah.
And I'm excited by that idea.
Going back to Kylo Ren being the spoilers, being the son of Leia and Han, I like that there wasn't a huge reveal to echo Empire. And this movie did have elements of probably all three movies of the original trilogy.
Absolutely.
But I like the fact that they said they kind of hinted, but then it's like, yeah, he's our kid. In the middle of the movie, it's like, all right.
They played it off like nothing too.
But that's the way to do it, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if they echoed on the bridge, "You are my son," I would have then rolled my eyes and been totally, that would be too much for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it was good that even when he took off his mask, which is a great moment.
I was so happy they did that early on
because then he's a good looking, almost looks like an old, like he looks like a princely character out of like a 1930s like Errol Flynn movie.
Plus,
that's what it looks like.
It further establishes him as different from Darth Vader,
and he's evil.
Immediately, he's humanized.
He's humanized, but he's ugly on the inside. You know, versus just being scarred and a robot. I like that. I like that he is trying to replicate what Darth Vader was by having a mask that changed the voice, which kind of looks like they're both based on samurai masks. That's what Darth Vader's looking like, a samurai. But having the mask, having the black, having the cloak and everything, but he's not. Ray says it. Says you're not Darth Vader. You're not going to be as powerful as Vader,
right?
And that pisses him off. I like the fact that he wasn't perfect. He's not a Sith Lord. He's just a quote unquote whatever dark Jedi or Jedi or Jedi in training using these powers for bad.
And I love that he wasn't completely under control. I love that he threw fucking hissy fits.
Yes,
and just fucking cut up an entire room with his saber.
And the second time was hysterical as a joke. With the stormtroopers like, oh, they turn around. Let's talk about the humor. This was the funniest Star Wars movie by a country mile.
And I felt like it was all genuine humor.
And it was all based on the characters. It wasn't random CG animals farting. It wasn't Jar Jar doing a step and fetch it act and you cringing at it. It was character humor. One of the funniest lines. Thank God you see Han Solo be a smuggler in this movie.
Yes.
You always you see him be a smuggler, and it's one of the best scenes. You can say what you want about the CG creature chasing him, but the build-up, the two gangs, both after Han for screwing him over, and him trying to talk his way out of it, that's classic Han Solo that you have bits and pieces of in the other movies, especially the first one in Empire. In Return of the Jedi, he's comatose because they didn't decide not to write the character in Return of the Jedi. You have the two gangs on both sides, and one of the best lines is I want to say they're like almost like they look and act like a Mongol gang. The second gang, the first one's like the like Scottish gang or whatever, and so they say, Saul, this is the second time you've screwed us over, and then Saul almost not in the meet. Wait a minute, what was the second time? And it was just so funny, and that was such a Han Solo thing to say, and like you said before, it was so great to see Han Solo. It was really was a Han Solo
movie. That's what I said.
Which is fantastic.
Yes.
Because he got screwed out of Return of the Jedi. One of the reasons probably didn't want to be in the movie because he had absolutely zero character arc in Return of the Jedi. Hell, you can say that Leia didn't have a character arc in the third one, besides finding out she's a sister, which was bullshit. And then Luke's character arc was just, I got to turn my father and not be swayed by the dark side. So the character drama.
I really like Jedi, but I mean,
it's a fine movie, but there's no character development really, especially for Solo and Leia.
When you jam Empire with so much shit, I mean, you're like, well, we got to make 3 of them.
there was nowhere for Solo to go unless they had him. Maybe people not want to help out, save the rebellion, kind of like in the first one, and go through that again. But they didn't do anything.
Did we mention it yet? Because I mean, that was another telltale giveaway. Is that I mean, Ford wanted Solo to die in
Return of Jedi.
In Jedi,
yeah. And I think in one of the earlier scripts, at least the Millennium Falcon is destroyed with Lando on board, but then they got rid of that because why have anything bad happen in a Lucasfilm when after he takes back over the franchise, basically Return of the Jedi. Yeah. Anyway, so I was very satisfied with the movie. I was trying to tune the nostalgia down in terms of my being objective in terms of how I was looking at it, if you can be objective about it. I'd say it was a solid 8 out of 10. It was really entertaining. I got over the constant callbacks. What I thought was going to take me out of the movie, but I thought was refreshing, there was colloquialisms in the movie, in the dialogue, that you did not expect to see in a Star Wars movie. Stuff from Finn screaming, "Did you see that? Did you see that?"
Yeah,
and it was like, well, that's kind of a modern sort of thing to say. You wouldn't expect it in a Star Wars movie. Or when Poe gets interrogated, one of my favorite parts of the movie goes, "So, do you start or do I start?" Smart ass stuff that, not saying that couldn't be said in another Star Wars movie, but that sort of really overly sarcastic, almost self-awareness.
It modernized it without having a rap dance number and a record scratch back.
Yeah, it was on the edge.
Right.
Like, it wasn't Will Smith. That's what I call a close encounter. You know what I mean? Like, it was a little edgy. It was edgy for Star Wars, if you say it. It was not like they were cursing and dropping F-bars, but it was about as edgy you can get for a Star Wars film. In terms of that stuff.
I'm never gonna look back and find it cringe-inducing.
Yeah, or when Finn goes to Rey, so you got a boyfriend or whatever. It's like it was funnier more than it was risk taking in terms of it being out of place.
Well, and funny, but like, I mean, to go back to it, I think it made the characters
relatable,
human, relatable, believable.
Because one of the best parts of the original Star Wars is that they're yelling at each other. The Death Star, like, "What are you doing? I tried it. It's magnetically sealed. Put that gun where your kid killed," and just going at each other like real human beings. Because in the prequels, that doesn't happen at all.
No,
they're all just very measured and holy like monks talking like this about the Empire and
such a fucking wooden movie.
We've lost our Jedi powers. Well, let's just decide what's happening with the war, and no emotion at all. Midichlorians, yes. By the way, there's zero mention of the prequels in these movies at all.
Yeah.
None. Nope. They mention clones once, but that's not even a prequel thing, since they mentioned the Clone Wars and A New Hope. So I was very satisfied. I think Poe, they're going to take more time to develop him. I was surprised he dropped off the middle of the film. I was not expecting that. But he started the film, which also surprised me that he was the guy starting the film.
They're going to use him as kind of the new Han. And since this was a Han movie, it only made sense to not have two similar characters in the middle of it.
But it felt like Star Wars. I know it's a weird thing to say, but the intangible sort of feeling of Star Wars, this had it. The feeling of just the atmosphere, even the fact that it starts very darkly with seeing the stormtroopers raise the town and kill everyone in cold blood. It felt like, wow, this feels like a Star Wars film. Mm-hmm. This feels like, wow, real sets, stormtroopers with flamethrowers, and you got Phasma there. The blood on the stormtrooper helmet, which you find out is Finn, and just even humanizing the stormtroopers. You start from their perspective, getting dropped in,
right?
And you have the one stormtrooper talk to the other one like, "Hey, I'll help you out. Stay with me."
Yeah.
To Finn, like, "Oh, that's interesting." They're actually showing a different angle, because in the first movie you don't even see any emotion really from the stormtroopers.
No, they're just targets.
They're just like
that shoot really poorly.
Yeah, they shoot a little better in this one. Yeah.
You know what one of my favorite things was about the movie, and this is such a small thing, but for whatever reason I was obsessed with it as a kid. They show both targeting screens. They show the TIE targeting screen, and they show the X-wing. No, they show the Millennium Falcon targeting screen. And I don't know why. I always loved those as a kid because they looked so video gamey, and they did not change a single goddamn thing about it. And those little touches were things that I loved. Like the fact that you're still in a tie, you're still dialing. Somehow you're dialing.
I have to go back and rewatch
You're
that.
still dialing in your target. Like I mean that stuff was really
like
cool
World War II sort of technology,
And I have to say it because I really geeked out over it afterwards. I was like, man, I did not think I was gonna like this character, and I do say character because it brought a lot to the movie. I think I absolutely loved BB-8. I love BB-8.
BB-8 was cute and cuddly and more emotions than an R2, even because it had more movement and the head can go back and forth and peek more easily and looked like it's scared by shaking.
Yeah, it was scared. It showed sadness. It showed joy. It even had one of the jokes that I loved when Finn throws the thumbs up and out pops this little fucking lighter that looks like a thumb.
I was gonna say that was probably a little
that's
too much.
The closest, but still, I mean, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I can forgive it.
I can forgive that.
It was great seeing Carrie Fisher back.
Yes.
That to me, that was probably where I teared up the most. Is honestly when the love theme comes in from Empire and they're both standing there.
Yeah, that got me too.
And then of course that's one of the funniest parts of the movie, because then C-3PO comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And that got probably one of the biggest laughs. It's like, oh, it's C-3PO ruining a moment again. That's good writing. You want to see the character again, but it's not just shoehorned in. It comes up at a perfect moment. You almost forget that, wow, C-3PO hasn't been in this movie yet. He's in every Star Wars movie, so is R2.
And you know what?
You see it come up.
Carrie Fisher aged well. I mean, for a woman who went through an incredibly rough period of her life, she
pulled it off.
She looked good. She pulled it off. She acted well. I felt like she handled her role in the movie perfectly. And honestly, I was not surprised that Luke doesn't show up until the end. I was not expecting Luke to show up anywhere until the end of the movie.
To me, some people have problems with that. That it was too ordinary. Some people don't like the helicopter shot, and I think it's great. I think it was a bold move. I think it'd be too cheap and easy to have Luke show up and save the day. And then there's already so much going on anyway in that movie that you don't really need him. No. It's a Han Solo movie. Let Harrison Ford have his day in the sun and go out like that.
Go out like a champ.
You're gonna have 2 other movies for Luke to come and show his powers, and the mystery of him and basically becoming probably the new Yoda, and then teaching Rey. No problems with that at all. Kylo Ren killing Han. I like that. It wasn't quote unquote a blaze of glory. I like that. It was. That establishes how evil the character is. Like that at that point, there's no going back. That to me is more evil than him than Vader killing Kenobi.
It was like I told you when that was spoiled for both of us. I was like, the thing is, I don't know the context of it, and seeing the context of it completed it.
It's more heartbreaking.
Yeah. And it was great because you could tell he was wrestling with it, but I mean, you knew what was happening.
Yeah.
You knew he decided to kill his dad but this is what makes him the wannabe. He was like, I mean, he's going for the most obvious thing. Well, how can I show everyone that I'm a badass?
Show himself.
I'm going to kill my dad.
Yeah, because he even said that the light side. I'm struggling with the light side, and so I'm going to do that. I'm going to take the easy way out. And then Chewbacca's reaction was fantastic, and people want to see revenge now. This isn't just Vader killing Kenobi. That's heartfelt. This is a beloved character for you haven't seen him in 30 years getting killed. Now everyone wants to see Kylo Ren get his.
Kenobi, the real Kenobi, was in one movie, kind of minimally. Yeah. I mean, not minimally. He had a solid role in the first film, but you didn't have a lot of time to get attached to him.
Sure. And everyone loves Solo. I mean, you don't like him, but I
love Solo.
I thought you said you didn't like him as a character.
No, I've always liked Solo.
Oh, okay. Well, I teared up with that, and then Chewbacca howling got me really saddened because that's his best friend forever. And
I like that it seems like Chewbacca is going to become Ren's new buddy.
That was surprising and cute, and I think they got to have a Chewbacca face.
Chewbacca needs someone, and I mean he's got to be in there somewhere.
I thought JJ would throw a swerve and kill off Chewbacca at one point, just because I felt like,
I think that's cheap heat.
That's cheaper heat than killing off Solo.
What else are you gonna do with Solo?
I'm just saying though, it's a lot harder to kill off a Solo character than a Chewbacca.
But what
people be crying with Chewbacca, but with Solo,
My question is, what else are you going to do with Solo? And that was Harrison Ford's issue in Jedi. He's done all that he can. So to make him more relevant, they made this his movie. But I mean, he would have been baggage for the next 2.
Speaking of that, how great was it that Kylo Ren's real name is Ben? I love
that. When he yelled Ben, I was like, oh, that's cool. Okay,
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And then he stops. Like, probably no one's called me Ben forever. You know what I mean? Like, that was fantastic.
Yep. And they didn't dwell on it either. They didn't like.
They didn't say, oh, well, his name was Ben. Now it's Kylo Ren. I said, no, he just called him out Ben. It will surprise the audience. It makes perfect sense.
They don't talk about why his name is Ben, but anyone who's watching the movie knows why his name is Ben.
Yeah. So really well written, not perfect. Yes, structurally it's the same as A New Hope. But you know what? So is Return of the Jedi. And you know what? So was Phantom Menace. And that they had to go and blow up a station at the same time, deactivate something over here. I mean, it's a Deus Ex device to get all the heroes working in different places and accomplishing a goal to a certain path. But at least in this movie, the destruction of the planet wasn't the end-all be-all. It was all the other confrontations between Solo and Kylo Ren, and then Kylo Ren with Finn and Rey. So it was more than just a Death Star.
Right.
To me, so that's where it's a slight difference with that. There's more going on.
I don't think that it necessarily forgives it entirely, but it grounds it for a newer generation. It showed people, granted perhaps in an easy way and not a challenging way, that Star Wars magic still exists. You can still do it. And, as long as Episode 8 is not a rerun of, Empire.
Yeah, I don't think
it's I think that this movie set up the best thing it was a good movie, but the best thing it did was really lay the groundwork for what could be a fantastic second movie.
I agree, and we're only going to see it in a year and a half, not 3 years, which is really weird to think about. Have to wait that long.
I'm actually kind of excited.
They said they're going to start shooting it in January already.